Because this car didn't come with factory A-pillars, there is no wiring for them. What we did was when we installed the radio, we ran 2 new wires out to the corners of the vehicle. That way we could connect the Sony 9500 ES's 2 channels, white and gray, to these 2 wires for the active 2-way front stage that this radio is capable of doing. In this instance, we used white with yellow. White will be positive, yellow will be negative. The reason we chose yellow is because we have a wiring pattern that we use in order to make our lives a little bit easier down the road. So for example, when doing tweeters, we'll either use yellow or red as the negatives, and then moving down for mid-range, we'll use blue or brown as the negatives, and then for the mid-bass, we'll typically use the black. What we've come up with is the brighter colors go to the brighter speakers. The duller colors go to the, lower frequency playing speakers. Anyways, it makes sense to us, and I guess that's all that matters. To make the first piece, which is the back piece that's going to be attached to the tweeter, we need to add in these here. These are what we like to call thermal nutserts. They're just like a normal nutsert, but they're put into plastic through heat. There's a special tool you can use, but if they're small like this, sometimes it's just a lot quicker to take your soldering iron, carefully put them on, and then gently, slowly push them into place. I like to get it in about a 1/16 inch under the lip. It's all set and ready to go. There will be a little push out on the back side. Just wait till it cools down and then it'll easily snap off. And then to make the next piece, which is this ring right here, we have these 3 pieces. We have 2 different rings and a back piece. And this is all going to be put together using acrylic glue. When assembling these, only peel off the side that is going to be glued down. That way you don't get glue all over your product. Just peel it off as necessary. It keeps it nice and clean. It's also helpful if you score a line into something like this. We couldn't do it with this the way it was made, but most of the time we'll try to score a line in so we can just peel the paper off, glue our product on, then in the final we'll peel all the paper off. Let's get going. We'll kind of work our way through this. I'm going to do this using the famed time lapse so that you guys can kind of get an idea of how long this will take. I'm going to finish this up and then we'll move right into the glue. Now, the easiest way I've found to glue this together is like you saw, putting the tweeter in there and using this as a guide to line it up and then removing it before it has time to dry into the tweeter. They're 2 different types of plastic, so they're not really made to stick together. And the last pieces are these 2 back pieces. I haven't removed the paper from them, but now that I'm done with all the gluing, I can pull these off. Because these are all set and ready to go into the A-pillar now. But before we can do that, we do need to remove the tweeter off of the A-pillar. And that is a lot of fun for sure. Just easily snaps right off. There you go. Remove the paper from here. There we have it. There's no super easy way to get these off that we found. You can try some heat, but you have to be careful because you don't want to damage any of this. You can use like your soldering gun to get in there and remelt some of it just by simply rocking back and forth on it. You can possibly dig enough up. Plus, if it heats it up enough, if you're kind of pulling on it as you do this, you might be able to get it up, you might not. You can also just try like a razor blade and just cutting off the head if it has a nice defined head like this one does. If you're not going to keep the tweeter anymore, you can just drill into the tweeter itself. And if you work at it enough, you can get it off. There's really no great way to do this because it's heat bonded in there, so it doesn't want to come off. The goal is to try to keep these legs that are holding the tweeter as long as possible. It's not gonna happen. I mean, it's just a crappy design, but that's okay, because with those off now, we can get this down into there, and we'll do the same on the other side. I want this on here as level as possible, so we're gonna trim it up just a little bit, trying to get this as flat as I can onto this. This one actually went really nice. There's always one that's going to be difficult. It's just this weird area right here. There we go. So a little trimming. They're both sitting on there fantastically. Now we have to epoxy these into place so that once they're in, we can then screw them in and do all that fun stuff. For that, we're gonna be using some clear weld from JB Weld, quick set epoxy, along with one of their cool little tips, so we can get into these really small areas. So the really cool thing about getting these cool little tips is that as we squeeze it, this whole cool thing here allows it to mix together. So by the time it gets down here, it's all set and ready to go. We don't use a ton of this, so it makes sense for us to get these small containers like this, and it sets in 5 minutes. So I let this sit with a weight on top of it for about an hour, and now it's tacked up enough to where I can move on to the next step, which is adding some sound treatment to the panel. Now normally we don't do this, however this is a great way to find out if this actually does anything, and that is to do it on one of our own. Makes it substantially heavier, and so the plan now is to replicate the way I did sound treatment in this one in here. What I did is I used just the regular aluminum back with butyl all over it, but I left out this shape here so that that was exposed. And then I put some foam backed in this area by cutting out the circle, putting over and filling in all the voids. Alright, there we go. Now we have it all our set. We have our cool little area here to add our tweeter in, which now I think is time to do that. The first step is to take the tweeter mount and put it into the A-pillar. Next is to put our tweeter in as well as our back piece to lock it in place. To do that, kind of get an idea, set it up. And then we're going to twist and push this guy into when it's flat. Follow that up with our back piece. And we have that tweeter in. If you'll notice, we have the grill on the whole time. This is the last thing to take off anytime we're doing any form of a tweeter. Obviously, we don't want something to happen to the tweeter. And those now securely in place. Time to add the locking screws. When screwing acrylic together like this, if you've never done it before, don't have to go gorilla tight. You don't want to crack the acrylic. There we have it. I'll put these back in the box. At some point these will come back out and we'll want to put the grills back over them. And there we go. We have two factory Beats by Dre hiding some cool Morels on the back side. It's time now to get these over into the car. We use a male and female bullet connector. If you've never done an A-pillar before, I can tell you right now, they are some of the hardest things in a car to take in and out. That is because of the airbag. They usually have some really weird clips to hold them in. Just take your time, and as you saw, kind of look behind the panel and line up those clips. You don't just want to start smacking the thing in until your clips are secure. Well, that gets one tweeter in place. I'll get the other one in, but next we're gonna take this door panel off, figure out what we need to do to get the 6.5 put into place.